You know, after tonight's episode, Dorothy and I are both making the same face. What's going on, YouTube? Welcome to WeSibs, West Coast, East Coast siblings. And you're probably wondering, what did we just watch? We're going to break it all down. This is Servant, Season 2, Episode 8. This is going to be a review, biggest takeaways all rolled into one video. So be sure to hit the subscribe button, click the bell so that you don't miss. And let's just dive into it. It's going to make sense, guys. Don't worry. So we have Roscoe's return. We have Leanne's real family. We have George prepping for a sacrifice. We have a voicemail of Dorothy in distress when she calls Julian, who she calls Juju. So we have all of this going on in this episode. It was funny. It was interesting when I turned the episode on and said TVMA for, I was like, well, that's weird. I know there's some graphic stuff, but after the scene with Leanne and Juju, now we know exactly why I got that rating. So let's dive right into it. First off, Roscoe is back. And he had been affected by the cult. They had done something to him. And it seems to be a permanent effect as he's now warming up to the people who captured him, mentally tortured him. We remember the episode where Natalie, who by the way is still gone. I know people don't like to think that that's something weird, especially with this episode where Juju was. I digress. Anyway, so Roscoe is back and he is now working for the cult, or they're at least able to suggest certain actions that he takes, and then he takes them. So either May, who we'll get to in a second, because George says later at the end of the episode, she'll come for you. That person, I think, is May. But he tells Roscoe to keep Sean and Dorothy outside until whatever George is preparing to do can be done. So speaking of that, George is preparing for the sacrifice. So we talked about that in the last episode where George received a box with a knife in it and some chemicals stuff. I don't know what it is, maybe poisons or knockout whatever. And so he's planning to sacrifice her. And it seemed he was building a wood something in the basement in the hole that had formed there in order to either burn the body or somehow get rid of it. Now, you may be wondering what was with the boombox and the banging of the head. I believe he was trying to make it look like it was a struggle. He was trying to make it look like he got in a fight with Leanne or Leanne attacked him and he killed her in self-defense. That's my best theory on that. The whole head banging thing was super weird, but this entire episode was ultra weird. I feel like M. Night just went off the rails with this one. But if we look at it, there are ways, if we look at it sideways, that it kind of makes sense. So the voicemail with Dorothy. So Dorothy is losing her mind as usual, but she calls Julian, and this is during the time, I'm assuming, when Sean had left. And Sean had gone to go work on some food TV show as one of the judges. We remember that from the last couple episodes. So he goes over there and she calls Julian just, upset and stressed out. And you can really see that it's getting to her. And we already know that she ended up leaving baby Jericho in a car or something else. I still maintain that I think she killed him. But I know a lot of you guys aren't on board with that. But whatever happened, we knew it was because of stress. So I don't know why they're reiterating all this and showing us that buildup of her being neglected, etc., that led to her without baby Jericho. We'll just say that, regardless of how he ended up going. By the way, if you're still watching, YouTube algorithm shows that thousands of you guys are not subscribed. So if you want to help build this community, watch more TV shows and all of our favorite movies and TV shows, be sure to hit the like button, subscribe, and click the bell. So then moving forward, we have talk of Leanne and her real family. So Julian goes up there and he's talking to her, and she talks about her real family and the house that had burned down. And she explains that, yes, George and her mother, her fake mother, are not her real parents, but they said that God had led them walking down the path when they found her in the ashes of that burnt down house. So this kind of explains why she's seemingly estranged from them. What I would assume is that Leanne obviously was not part of the cult initially, but I would assume some cultish things were going on that led to her parents' house being burnt down. And then George and his wife found Leanne and made her part of that cult. The cult is really George's and his family. Leanne was just brought into that cult. So George, he's ready to kill her now. I'm assuming this is because of Leanne's rebellion. Leanne in the last episode, and even in this episode, she reiterates it. She's done with this cult. She's done trying to follow the rules. She says, if this god does this or that, then I don't want anything to do with him. And she was also mad in the last episode that whatever god she's serving did not spare the Merino boy. Because they were looking for him at the Merino house or whatever, and it found out that he ended up being shot and ended up dying. So another thing, we have Dorothy talking about, she confronts George when it turns out that Roscoe was keeping Sean and Dorothy outside of the house. She confronts George and says, what are you doing? You're not holding up your end of the deal. Which, by the way, they never really made that deal. She kind of just pimp slapped him while he was knocked out. Can you say that on YouTube? I don't know. Anyway, she was smacking him around, and he ends up just explaining that they will be reunited, or the reunion will happen when the clock turns. So this is the second time we've heard reunion mentioned, and we still don't really know what this could mean. But this reunion could be death. It could be the death of Sean and Dorothy. It could mean they will actually bring Jericho back. I mean, we all know that Jericho is no longer with us, but it's hard to kind of know anything in a show like this because they really play that thin line between what is real and what is, the spiritual occult world and all those different things. And so it's hard to get a grasp on what M. Night is trying to tell us is real and what is just symbolic or something like that. And he throws out all these little diversions too, distractions. If you watch the Apple TV YouTube channel, you can see that he puts out videos talking about certain episodes, and a lot of them have been misleading because he'll lead you to think that there's a practical, natural explanation for all the goings on in this show, and then you'll find out that no, it is there is some spiritual aspect to it. So I feel like some of those are misleading, so we just have to dodge around those. So then obviously Julian and Leanne sleep together. That came out of the blue. I don't know where that was coming from. I had always felt like Julian maybe liked Leanne, but because she was crazy at the time, and arguably still is, he had always kept his distance. But I guess, it just happened at this point. Now the question is, Natalie, where's Natalie in all this? We saw her, I think, in episode 2 or episode 1, and we haven't seen her since. So my natural inclination is, that it can't be for no reason. There must be something sinister going on. But she's still not here. And the last time we saw her is interesting. Now Roscoe has been seen again for the second time, and still no Natalie, because remember, she was helping out figure out what Roscoe had seen when he had been captured by the cult. So then the last couple things for this episode were George goes to kill Leanne. Leanne wakes up, sees the knife in his hand, and puts 2 and 2 together, says, I thought you loved me, and all this stuff. And George, before that happens, he says, I can't do this. And so that confirms, that he was trying to kill her, make it look like it was a fight. He didn't seem to react to the fact that her and Julian had been sleeping together. I mean, based on their cult rules, that would be a super violation, I would assume, and he would be outraged. But he didn't seem to. He didn't even acknowledge it, actually. He woke up, he said, I can't do it. I figured that in a fit of rage, he would have not been able to do it, but then seeing, her sleeping with Julian would have sent him off, and then it would have been a big fight. I thought it was going to be a big dramatic blow up. But that didn't happen, and George ends up running away after Leanne's dress catches fire, the black dress that she wears in this episode. Is it symbolism? Is it not? We don't really know. Let me know in the comments what you think of that. So George runs out into the street, and you kind of saw this one coming. He gets hit by a car. Now, the question is he dead? Your guess is as good as mine. I'm going to say he's not dead. It didn't look that crazy of a hit. He's a big guy. I mean, a car is still a car, but it didn't seem like he got hit that hard. But Leanne was looking out the window in the last shot, and it looked like not only was she happy about it, but it seemed almost as if she had something to do with it. We have talked before about Leanne possibly having abilities, possibly having powers. And I don't know, it was something about that last shot that made me think that she might have had a hand in that car coming there. Now, how could she have orchestrated all that? I don't know. I'm not claiming to know, but there was also like electric sparks in certain episodes when she was, I think, eating the king cake or whatever with the baby inside. So she's shown paranormal abilities. That's all that I'm going to say about that. But let me know in the comments whether you think she has powers or not, because I think it's very possible. So, in recap, Roscoe comes back. He's now friends with the cult. Leanne shares her real family story, the fact that she's adopted. George preps for sacrifice, but then backtracks, ends up getting hit by a car. Dorothy, we hear more about her descent into madness, as many people still don't think she killed Jericho. I maintain that she does. I think there's a lot of illusion that goes on in this show, and Jericho dying in that car was one of those illusions. Who knows? Julian and Leanne sleep together, and there's this character called May. George says she will come for you. And at first I was like, okay, she's talking about Dorothy. But then Leanne says, I can handle May. Now, is May her mother? Possibly. Is May the cult leader? I think that's the more likely answer. But we'll have to wait and see. Let me know your theories and predictions down in the comments below, as always. Guys, if you're still watching, come on, hit the subscribe button. Like the video, comment. I love chatting it up with you guys at the end of every episode. It's a good time. So be sure to join down there. I already said all the like stuff. Thank you guys so much for watching, as always, and I will see you in the next one. Peace.